honeybee. She actually danced with the honeybees before she became a honeybee because she went viral for like a video that she wore in pink. She like dropped down to a split, like walked down that line. Like my girl was T. Like
the Alabama Sheriff's Office has launched an investigation into the death of Alabama State University student Gennia Grimes.
Grimes was a proud member of the Alabama State University Honeybees dance team. Fox 5's Angelique Proctor joins us from Mays High School in Southwest Atlanta, which is...
The gun went off. He did not call for help. He called his mother. And then he hit record. Let me tell you something about Gennia Grimes. Before you hear what happened to her, you need to know who she was. Because when a story like this makes the news, they give you the headlines, they give you the crime scene, and they move on. But Gennia was not a headline. She was a whole person, and this story is going to treat her like one. She grew up in Southwest Atlanta. And if you know Atlanta, you already know that city raises people who carry themselves a certain way. Bold, creative, driven. Gennia was all of that, and then some. From the time she was a little girl, she had energy that filled every room she walked into. Her name on the internet was Purple Doll. She earned that name because everywhere she went, she brought color and life with her. Dance was not just something she did, it was something she was. By the time she was still in high school, her videos were already going viral. The girl could move in a way that made you stop whatever you were doing and just watch. Period. She graduated from Mays High School in Atlanta in 2021. And she set her sights on Alabama State University in Montgomery. ASU is an HBCU, a historically black college and university, and it carries a certain pride with it, a certain legacy. Gennia fit right in. She made the Honeybees ASU's dance line. And if you know anything about HBCU dance lines, you know that is not something that just happens. You earn your spot. You put in the work. Gennia put in the work. She was also a criminal justice major. And that was not just a degree she picked on a whim. She had a plan. Law school, an FBI career, a life built on purpose and on standing up for people who couldn't stand up for themselves. She had a graduation date locked in for August of 2025. Girl, this woman had a full life mapped out. And then she became a mother. When her son, Rogers McCloud III, was born, Gennia was 9 months into a relationship with Rogers McCloud Jr., the man who would later become the father of her child. She was 21 years old, raising an infant, carrying a full course load, maintaining a 3.0 GPA, and still showing up to Honeybees rehearsals. Make it make sense because she somehow did all of it. Her mother, Angela, described her as her best friend, said they were like twins. She called Gennia her heart, and she was not wrong. The night before Gennia died, she was up until 3:30 in the morning, rehearsing. She had a performance coming up and she was not about to miss it. That is who she was. That is the level of commitment she carried every single day. Now here is where this story starts to shift. Rogers McCloud Jr. He and Gennia had been together for about 2 years. They met at Alabama State University. He played football for a time, but he left the team before the 2024 season. By the time everything went wrong, he was no longer a student. Gennia, on the other hand, was still very much building her future. And in the weeks before she died, people close to her started noticing something. The relationship had been showing cracks for a while. Not the kind of cracks that come from two people disagreeing about something small, the kind that come from one person feeling like they have to answer for everything, the kind that make the people who love you nervous. Anyways, Gennia's mother, Angela, later told reporters what she knew. A few weeks before Gennia died, Gennia found something on Rogers' phone. What she found, Angela did not say publicly. But what happened next, she was very clear about. Rogers got angry. And when he got angry, he did not just raise his voice. He broke her iPad. He broke her phone. He tried to break her television. Oh, so now we are destroying property because you got caught? Like that is not just anger. That is control. That is a person who, when they feel threatened, responds by taking things away, by breaking what belongs to you, by making sure you feel like you are the one who did something wrong. Gennia's family saw it. They knew. And yet, because this is how these situations always go, nobody could have predicted where it was actually heading. Angela said Gennia was about to end the relationship. She was getting ready to walk away. But hey, she never got the chance. March 27th, 2025. Gennia and Rogers were driving from Auburn back to Montgomery. She needed to get back for a morning class. It was early. It was a regular Thursday, the kind of day that is supposed to end with you sliding into your seat 5 minutes late and your professor not even noticing. That is not how this day ended. Investigators later pieced together what they believe happened. At some point during that drive, a gun went off inside the car. Gennia was shot in the head. The bullet entered the left side of her body. She was right-handed. Moving on, because that detail matters more than it might seem right now. Hold on to it. Rogers pulled into a gas station at the Watt exit off Highway 80 in the Wall community just outside Pike Road. That is where authorities eventually found them. Gennia was still in the car. She was bleeding, and Rogers had not called 911 yet. Instead, he pulled out his phone. He opened Snapchat, and he recorded her. The first video he kept for himself. He did not send it to anyone. In that video, Gennia was bleeding in the seat beside him, and there was no gun visible anywhere in the frame. No gun. Let that sit with you for a second. Then he recorded a second video. This one he sent to his mother. In that video, a gun had appeared, placed on Gennia's shoulder. And Rogers' voice was on the recording saying, "This girl shot herself." He called his mother before he called 911. He staged a scene before he called 911. He built his story before he called for help. And then, finally, he called law enforcement. And he told them that Gennia had become overwhelmed during the drive, that she was upset about money, about financial stress, that she reached into the center console where he kept a loaded gun and she shot herself. That was his story. That was what he wanted the world to believe about Gennia Grimes. That this woman, who was up to 3:30 in the morning rehearsing because she had a performance she was not going to miss, decided on a car ride home that she was done. I said what I said. That story was never going to hold, because the people who loved Gennia knew something that no staged video could erase. Gennia was terrified of guns, not cautious, not unfamiliar, terrified. Her cousin Jasmine said so plainly. Her mother said she would not even touch one. This was not a small character detail. This was the detail that told the entire story. Because the version of events Rogers was selling required Gennia to reach into a console, pick up a weapon she was afraid of, and use it on herself. On a morning she had a class to get to. On a morning she had a performance coming up. On a morning she had a 9-month-old son waiting for her. So what, did any of that add up? No, it did not, and investigators were not buying it either. Montgomery County Sheriff's deputies responded to that gas station off Highway 80, and what they found started a week-long investigation that the sheriff's office described as wide open from the moment it began. Every resource, every piece of technology, every investigator they had pointed at this case. And the first thing that did not sit right was the story itself. Rogers told them Gennia grabbed the gun from the center console, that she did it because she was overwhelmed with financial stress during the drive, that he had no idea it was coming. But investigators are trained to listen to stories the way a mechanic listens to an engine. They are not just hearing the words, they are listening for what does not fit. And in Rogers McCloud's story, a lot did not fit. Start with the basics. The gunshot wound was on the left side of Gennia's body. Gennia was right-handed. Take a moment with that. If you are right-handed and you are going to use a weapon on yourself, your dominant hand is the one that moves. The wound should reflect that. It did not. And that inconsistency alone was enough to make investigators look harder at everything else Rogers said. Then they looked at his phone. And that is where the case broke wide open. What they found on that phone was not the behavior of a man who had just watched someone he loved die beside him. There were Snapchat videos recorded in the minutes before he ever dialed 911. Not after. Before. While Gennia was still in that car, bleeding, Rogers McCloud was making content. The first video showed Gennia in the passenger seat. She was bleeding, and there was no gun anywhere in the frame. None. Just Gennia, and the evidence of what had already happened to her. The second video, the one he sent to his own mother, told a completely different story. In that video, a gun had been placed on Gennia's shoulder. And Rogers' voice came through the recording saying, "This girl shot herself." He did not call 911 first. He called his mother. He showed his mother Gennia's body over a recorded message before he called a single emergency service. And then there was a text. Rogers also sent a message to family members saying Gennia had shot herself. He was building a wall of witnesses before law enforcement even arrived. People who had now heard his version of events, in his words, before anyone else could tell them anything different. Investigators also found that Rogers had placed that gun on Gennia's body after the fact. The positioning in the first video versus the second video made it clear. That gun did not land where it was when Rogers decided to record himself proving his story. So what? He thought nobody would check the timestamps. He thought nobody would compare the two videos. He thought grief looked like Snapchat. Anyways, investigators were not only looking at what was on the phone, they were also piecing together the geography of what happened. Because the crime did not happen at that gas station. Based on the evidence, investigators believe Rogers shot Gennia in Macon County while they were still on the road, and then drove to the gas station at the Watt exit off Interstate 85 before pulling over and calling for help. That means she was in that car, already shot, while he drove, while he thought, while he planned what he was going to say. Let that travel. Now the family was being told different things at different points during that first week. Initially, deputies relayed to Gennia Grimes that Gennia had been in a car with a friend when a gun went off and that the friend was saying Gennia killed herself. Angela's response to that was immediate and absolute. She told reporters without hesitation her daughter would not even touch a gun. She was afraid of guns. There was no version of this story where Gennia reached for one. Angela also raised something else that investigators were already looking at. The weeks before Gennia's death had not been peaceful. Rogers had allegedly destroyed her iPad, her phone, and tried to break her television after she found something on his phone. These were not isolated moments of bad temper. These were patterns, the kind that show up in case after case after case in domestic violence investigations. When someone starts breaking your things, they are telling you something about how they see you and what they believe they are entitled to do when they feel out of control. Gennia had apparently been moving toward ending the relationship, and Rogers knew that. The investigation moved fast. The sheriff's office had been thorough, and 8 days after Gennia was found at that gas station, they had enough. 8 days after Gennia Grimes died, Rogers McCloud Jr. was taken into custody. The charge was capital murder. He was held without bond. Capital murder in Alabama is the most serious charge the state carries. It is not a charge prosecutors file lightly. The fact that it landed here, on this case in this investigation, said everything about what law enforcement believed they were looking at. Investigators described Gennia's death as a domestic violence homicide. A young woman murdered at the hands of her boyfriend. That framing mattered, because it placed this case exactly where it belonged, inside the pattern of intimate partner violence that takes lives in this country every single day, often quietly, often without the attention it deserves. Rogers appeared in court before Judge Pamela Higgins for a preliminary hearing. Gennia's family was in that courtroom. They sat there and they listened as an investigator from the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office laid out what the evidence showed. The investigator testified that Rogers had told authorities Gennia became inconsolable about financial issues during the drive and grabbed the gun he kept in the center console and shot herself. The defense had the opportunity to challenge that. What the judge had to decide was whether the evidence against Rogers was strong enough to move forward. Judge Higgins found that it was. The case was bound over to a grand jury. The defense withdrew a motion for bond. Rogers McCloud Jr. remained behind bars. Girl, the phone told on him. The timestamps told on him. The wound told on him. The gun placement told on him. And the woman who knew Gennia best told anyone who would listen that none of his story was ever true. The case is still moving through the legal system, and Gennia's family is still watching, still showing up, still fighting for her. Alabama State University held a balloon release for Gennia after she died. The campus stopped. People who had class, people who had places to be, people who maybe only knew her by face or by her videos. They stopped. They stood still. They let go of balloons into a Montgomery sky for a 21-year-old woman who was supposed to walk across that same campus stage in August. That image stays with you. Because Gennia Grimes was not supposed to be a story on a crime channel. She was supposed to be a lawyer. She was supposed to be an FBI agent. She was supposed to be the woman in the courtroom standing between someone vulnerable and the thing trying to destroy them. Because that is exactly who she already was in her everyday life. A person who carried people. A person who showed up. A person who danced like nobody was watching, and then found out everybody was watching and kept going anyway. She was Purple Doll. She was a honeybee. She was a criminal justice student, a daughter, a cousin, a best friend, and a mother to a little boy named Rogers III. A child who will grow up knowing his mother's name from videos and news articles and stories told by people who loved her. And that is heartbreaking in a way that does not have the right words for it. Angela Grimes got her grandson back that weekend. She picked up little Rogers from the McCloud family and brought him home. A baby boy who will never have a memory of his mother holding him, who will have to piece her together from what other people remember. Let me tell you something. That child deserved better. Gennia deserved better, and the people who loved her deserved better than having to bury a daughter, a friend, a cousin at 21 years old. Moving on, because there is something that needs to be said directly, and this channel is not going to dance around it. What happened to Gennia did not start on that highway. It started with broken things. It started with a destroyed iPad, a smashed phone, a television that almost did not survive an argument. It started with the kind of anger that does not know how to stay inside, the kind that reaches for whatever is closest and breaks it to prove a point. When someone shows you that version of themselves, that is not a bad day. That is a preview. And too many people in too many relationships have seen that preview and told themselves it would get better. It does not always get better. Gennia's mother, Angela, said something after the arrest that every person watching this needs to carry with them. She said, anytime something is going on in your relationship that is not right, share with someone. Do not hold back. Do not hold back. That is it. That is the whole message. Because the thing about these situations is that they are designed to isolate you. The person doing the harm does not want you talking. They want you managing them quietly, alone, in private, so that the outside world only ever sees the version they have approved. Talking breaks that. Telling someone, a mother, a cousin, a friend, a counselor, anyone, breaks that cycle before it breaks you. Gennia's story is not only a crime story, it is a reminder that love is not supposed to cost you your safety. It is not supposed to cost you your peace. It is not supposed to cost you your things, your confidence, your ability to leave when you are ready to leave. And the person who was supposed to protect her most was the one who took everything from her. She trusted him with her son. She trusted him with her life. And he used that trust against her on a Thursday morning when she just wanted to get back to campus in time for class. Period. Gennia Grimes was a superstar. Her mother knew it from the beginning. Her campus confirmed it. Everyone who ever watched her dance knew it the moment she started moving. She was full of color and full of life and full of plans, and none of those plans included leaving her son without a mother at 9 months old. She deserved to walk across that August stage. She deserved to pass the bar. She deserved to watch her little boy grow up and one day tell him herself exactly who she was and what she stood for. She deserved so much more than what happened on that highway. Her name is Gennia Grimes, and this channel is going to say it as many times as it takes for the world to remember it. If this story moved you, and it should have, share it, not for the numbers, for Gennia, for her son who will one day be old enough to search her name and find people who refuse to let the world move on from what happened to her, for her mother Angela, who called her a superstar and was telling the absolute truth. Drop her name in the comments, share this video, and subscribe to Unheard Cries TV, because there are more names that deserve to be said out loud, more stories that deserve to be told with the care and the honesty and the respect that the people inside them gave to the world while they were still here. Gennia gave everything she had. The least we can do is remember her.